Marcus Dean had never been lucky with his body. His teeth had always been crooked, jagged like broken piano keys, so when the dentist told him that his wisdom teeth needed to come out, he thought it would be a relief. It wasn't. He got the surgery done in his late 20s, long after most people had forgotten theirs. The pain that followed wasn't human. His jaw throbbed like it was pulsing with electricity, and no matter how many painkillers he took, it only dulled to a deep ache. Every 3 hours, his alarm would drag him out of the half-sleep he managed to catch. He'd swallow another pill and lie there, staring at the ceiling, listening to the clock tick and the world outside shift in the darkness. Sleep had become something unnatural to him, something that belonged to other people. That night, around 4 a.m., the air in his room felt thick. The ceiling fan barely moved it, and sweat stuck to his skin. He groaned, rolled to the side, and pushed open the window. The night air seeped in, warm but still better than the suffocating heat inside. He lay there, hoping for sleep to finally find him. But instead, the quiet found him first, and then came the scratching. It was faint at first, a soft drag of something rough against wood. Marcus frowned, thinking it was just a branch brushing the roof, but the sound grew clearer, deliberate. Scrape, pause, scrape. It wasn't the wind. It was footsteps. Marcus sat up, his muscles tight. The sound moved across the roof, slow and steady. He tried to rationalize it, maybe a raccoon or a cat, but the pacing was too measured, too human. He swung his legs off the bed, feeling a dull throb shoot through his jaw, and grabbed the flashlight from his nightstand. The beam was dim but enough. He stepped outside into the humid night air, barefoot, the gravel biting at his soles. The house was quiet except for the hum of insects. He aimed the light toward the roofline and swept slowly across the shingles. Nothing. His heartbeat quickened as he took a few steps back for a better angle. Still nothing, just shadows and the silver of moonlight. Then something shifted at the edge of his vision. He flicked the beam left. Standing on the roof, crouched like an animal, was a man, or something shaped like one. The flashlight froze him in the light, a naked figure, pale skin smeared with dirt, limbs too long, head tilting like a broken puppet. For a moment, Marcus couldn't breathe. Then the man moved, fast, impossibly fast, skittering across the shingles toward the other side of the roof. Marcus stumbled backward, the light trembling in his hand. The figure disappeared over the slope of the roof, back toward his bedroom window. Panic flooded through him. He bolted toward the rear of the house, shouting for his father before reason could catch up to fear. When he reached the backyard, the figure was there at the edge of the roof, crouched low like a predator. Marcus froze as the thing turned its head toward him. Its mouth hung open, its chest rising and falling in quick, shallow bursts. Then it jumped. The sound of flesh meeting concrete was sickening. Marcus screamed, stumbling back as the figure hit the patio, rolled, and then stood. It shouldn't have been able to stand. Its legs were bent wrong. Yet somehow it did. It charged. Marcus barely had time to react before the thing slammed into him. Its nails, thick and cracked, raked across his face. The flashlight clattered to the ground, rolling away as Marcus kicked and thrashed. The thing's skin was cold and damp, and its breath smelled like rot. He screamed for his father, felt a burning tear open near his eye. The world spun in flashes of light and blood until the back door burst open. His father rushed out, swinging a metal rod. The creature turned, hissed, and for a brief moment Marcus saw its face in the light. Its mouth wasn't moving. It was grinning. It bolted, vaulting over the fence and vanishing into the forest. Marcus lay there shaking, his face slick with blood, his breath ragged. His father dropped beside him, shouting his name, voice trembling with fear. Later at the hospital, the doctor said he was lucky. None of the scratches were deep enough to blind him. But Marcus couldn't forget the sound of that impact, or how easily that thing had moved. The police found claw marks on the shingles, deep gouges, like an animal trying to dig into the attic. But they didn't find the man. No footprints, no trail, nothing. To this day, Marcus still wakes every few hours out of habit. Sometimes he swears he hears something moving on the roof again. But when he checks, there's only silence, and a faint, greasy handprint on the window. My name is Jordan Wells, and I live with my parents in a quiet suburban neighborhood where nothing ever really happens. At least, that's what I used to think. My house is a little unusual compared to most others around here. The front door sits in the middle of a narrow, covered hallway built into the front of the house, like a tunnel made of walls and roof. From my bedroom window on the first floor, I can look straight into that space and see anyone standing at the door. It used to feel convenient. Now it feels like a curse. It was early summer when everything happened. My parents had gone out of town for a week, leaving me home alone. I saw it as the perfect opportunity to let my girlfriend Mia Cole stay over for a few days. She had met my parents before, and they liked her, but they were the strict kind. No overnight guests. Still, I convinced myself it was harmless. We planned nothing wild, just a quiet week together. The first night went as perfectly as I'd hoped. We watched movies, shared snacks, drank some wine, and fell asleep tangled in each other's arms. The next morning we swam in the pool, made pancakes, and laughed about how nice it felt to have the house to ourselves. Neither of us were the party type. Peace and privacy were enough. But peace doesn't last forever. It started the second night, sometime close to midnight. We were lying in bed, whispering about random things when a sound interrupted us. A sharp metallic screech from outside, followed by a dragging noise. I hushed Mia, straining to listen. The sound came again, low and gritty, like something heavy being scraped across the driveway. My first thought was that one of my dad's metal trash cans had been knocked over. He sometimes left them near the garage, and raccoons often came sniffing for leftovers. I told Mia to stay in bed, pulled on a shirt, and grabbed my phone for light. I turned on the porch lights, but they didn't reach the driveway, just the front lawn and steps. The dragging sound had stopped, replaced by a strange stillness. I hesitated at the door, debating whether to go out, but curiosity won. I stepped outside. The night air was warm and thick, and everything around me looked too quiet. The driveway was dim, but I could make out one trash can toppled over, and its contents spilled across the ground. I groaned, annoyed more than scared, and began picking things up. I didn't see or hear anything. No raccoon, no stray dog, nothing. It was as if whatever made the mess had vanished the moment I came outside. After cleaning, I moved the cans into the garage and locked it shut. I didn't want another repeat of that sound waking me again. Back in my room, Mia was half asleep, mumbling that she heard me talking outside. I smiled and kissed her forehead, telling her it was just a raccoon. She drifted off quickly, and I lay there trying to relax, but sleep didn't come. Something felt wrong, an unease I couldn't name. The house was silent, too silent, like it was holding its breath. I closed my eyes and tried to drift, but then I heard it. A faint tapping, metallic, precise, like metal against glass. My heart froze. It wasn't part of a dream. It was too sharp, too rhythmic. Tap, tap, tap. I sat up, scanning the dark room. The sound continued, coming from outside my window. I moved quietly, my pulse pounding so hard I could hear it. My window looked straight into the covered hallway that led to the front door. Slowly, I pulled the curtain back an inch. There was someone standing at the door. A tall figure. Their back to me, shoulders hunched, arms slowly moving up and down as they tapped the door's glass panel with something metallic. I couldn't breathe. My mind told me it was a drunk neighbor or a lost delivery guy, but no one knocks on doors at midnight, and not like that. The figure stopped tapping. Then, as if sensing my eyes on them, they started to turn. I dropped down instantly, crouching below the window, heart hammering against my ribs. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Seconds crawled by like hours. Then, against my better judgment, I peeked again. What I saw will never leave me. The figure had turned completely. His face was inches from the glass, staring directly at me through the window. His skin looked like it was melting, drooping and slick, as if his flesh was sliding off the bone. His eyes were hollow, black pits that caught the faint porch light like wet stones. His lips were cracked, twisted into something that could have been a grin. I stumbled back, gasping. Mia woke instantly, terrified by the noise, and I shouted that someone was outside. I locked the bedroom door, grabbed my phone, and called the police with trembling hands. The dispatcher told me to stay put until officers arrived. I could hear Mia quietly sobbing, clutching my arm while I stared at the window, expecting that horrific face to press against the glass again. It took the police 11 minutes to arrive, but those 11 minutes felt eternal. We heard nothing else. No tapping, no footsteps, only silence. When the officers finally knocked on the door, I let them in quickly and explained everything. They searched the entire house, checked every window, every lock, every door, all secured. Then they swept the yard and driveway but found nothing unusual. No footprints, no marks, no sign that anyone had been there. They told me it was probably a trespasser, maybe a homeless man looking for shelter, and that he'd left once we called. One officer suggested installing security cameras, then they left. I wanted to believe them, but deep down, I knew what I saw wasn't a man. The way that skin looked, the way those eyes reflected the light, it wasn't right. When my parents came home, I told them everything. They listened, nodded, and brushed it off as stress. "You've been staying up too late," my father said. "Your mind plays tricks when it's tired." I laughed it off in front of them. But the truth is, I hadn't slept a single night peacefully since. It's been 2 weeks now. Every night, around the same hour, I wake to faint sounds outside my window. Not tapping anymore, but breathing. Slow, heavy breathing that stops the moment I move. I told my dad, and he's planning to put up cameras around the house. But I know what they'll capture. Not a stranger. Not an animal. The same melting face waiting in the dark, staring through the glass. Tapping, just once, to let me know he's still there. My name is Elijah Kane, and I live alone in a small one-story house on the edge of town. It's not much. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, a tiny kitchen, a living room that doubles as my office, and a single-car garage. Simple, quiet, perfect. I like living alone. Always have. Freedom is my oxygen. I work remotely, no boss hovering over my shoulder, no one to answer to. Some people would call my life boring, but to me, it's peace. That peace started breaking the night I realized how thin silence can be. I've never been a morning person. I'm the kind of guy who's wide awake at 2 Ks or 3 Ys a.m., lost in my thoughts or working on my computer. That night was no different. I was deep in focus, typing away, my mind locked into the rhythm of the keyboard. The only sounds were the soft hum of the computer fan and the occasional creak of the house settling. Then, without warning, everything shattered. Footsteps. Heavy ones. Running down the hallway toward my bedroom, before I could even turn, 3 deafening bangs exploded against my bedroom door, so loud they made my ears ring. The sound didn't just echo. It tore through the silence like gunfire. I jumped from my chair so fast it toppled backward. My knee slammed against the desk, sending my monitor crashing to the floor. For a split second, I thought someone had broken in. Someone desperate, maybe dangerous. I stood frozen, staring at the door. My mind raced, trying to make sense of it. Who would be here? Why now? The door rattled once more, then fell completely silent. No footsteps retreating. No voices, just stillness. The kind that presses against your chest and makes you feel like the air itself is watching. My brain screamed at me to move, but my body wouldn't listen. I waited, heart hammering, eyes locked on the doorknob, expecting it to twist any second. Minutes passed, or maybe seconds. Time didn't exist right then. Finally, I heard it. The footsteps again. Slow this time. Moving away, that broke the spell. I grabbed the nearest thing I could find, a half-empty beer bottle from my desk, and stormed toward the door, adrenaline overriding every ounce of reason. I flung it open, shouting like a maniac. "Who's there?" My voice cracked in the still air. Nothing answered. The hallway stretched out in front of me, dim and empty. Every door stood open, every shadow still. I moved fast, checking each room. The bathroom, kitchen, living room, even the small storage closet. No one, not a single thing out of place. I checked every window and door, all locked, not even a draft. I stood in the middle of the living room, bottle still raised like a weapon, chest heaving. My skin crawled with the kind of fear that doesn't make sense. Fear that lives between what you know and what you can't explain. I told myself maybe I'd imagined it, that I was overtired, hallucinating sounds after too many sleepless nights. But my body knew better. It remembered the vibration of those bangs, the sound of footsteps on the hardwood floor. That wasn't imagination. I locked my bedroom door and called the police. My voice shook as I told the dispatcher what happened. "Someone's in my house," I said. She stayed calm, said officers were on the way, and told me to stay where I was. I sat on the floor, back against the wall, staring at the door. Every little noise made me flinch. The hum of the refrigerator, the ticking of the wall clock, the faint rattle of the air vent. When the police arrived, I almost didn't hear them knocking. 2 officers stepped inside and searched the house top to bottom. They found nothing. Every lock was intact, every window sealed, not a single sign of forced entry. One of them tried to convince me I'd left a door unlocked and whoever was there ran off before they arrived. I told him that was impossible. I always lock everything. He gave me a look halfway between sympathy and disbelief. I could tell he didn't buy my story. When they left, the house felt even emptier than before. I sat there in the silence, too scared to sleep, too wired to think. The logical part of me kept replaying what happened, searching for an explanation. Maybe it was a dream. Maybe the sounds came from outside. Maybe stress was finally getting to me. But another part of me, the part that still heard the echo of those footsteps, knew better. The next few days were a blur. I barely slept. Every creak of the house made me jump. Every small sound felt deliberate, like someone was still there, waiting for the right moment to return. I started second-guessing everything. The locks, the shadows under the doors, even my own reflection in the dark window. I told a friend about it once, hoping to laugh it off, but halfway through describing the sound of the banging, I felt my throat tighten. The words died in my mouth because saying it out loud made it real again. It's been months now, and I've changed my entire routine. I don't stay up past midnight anymore. I sleep with lights on. I keep a baseball bat next to my bed. The logical part of me still tries to explain it away. But some nights, when I'm lying awake listening to the quiet, I hear it again, soft footsteps, creeping just beyond my bedroom door. And every time I reach for the handle, I stop myself because deep down I know if I open that door again, whatever was out there that night will be waiting for me in the dark.